Hello, everybody, and welcome into our post first round draft episode here at the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined in by Dayton Reimer. Also got Zach Martin here. We were talking throughout the whole, 4.5 hours of the first decentralized draft in NHL history. And I think we can all agree it wasn't that good. So, Peyton, I'll get your thoughts on it first before we jump into what the first round actually entailed with the players getting picked.
Yeah, I think I made the comment earlier that anytime the NHL has a half good idea, they will find a way to mess it up. And this was just a bungle. Every pick took way too long. Like you said, we were sitting here for 4.5 hours just waiting for picks to happen. The interviews, I think the interviews were a good idea, but they took so much steam out of the actual pick and the momentum of the draft. Yeah, and then the technical difficulties, like you couldn't see that coming. It was just a mess. It was more painful than the COVID draft.
Yeah, and that's saying something.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we all remember that, and it wasn't that good. Yeah, Zach, I'm sure you're going to say similar things, but what'd you think about
yeah, I mean, it was like Dayton said, it just took so much steam out of it. The draft house made no sense. The fact that you try to have the guy talk to the GM, like what they would usually do on the draft floor, and you have someone there trying to moderate it, and then they go talk to everyone else. It was just it took way too long. And the fact that if there was a trade, like you would waste 3 minutes of a team making their pick, they do a trade, and then you waste another 3 minutes on top of that. It was just, there's no reason why this took, I think, 4.5 hours. I think they said the NBA first round took 2 hours. The NHL doubled that and then some, between just taking forever to get these picks done and then everything else. Yeah, it was way unnecessary for one round to take that long.
It was. And the thing is, what were we at? 45 minutes almost, and we weren't even through the top 5 picks yet.
I think we were up through the top 3.
Yeah. It was already half an hour. We weren't there yet. And it was painful, but I think this is a one and done. It better be, because I don't know if I could go through another one like this.
Well, Gary Bettman said this was going to be a bad idea from the jump, and he knew it. And now you just saw why. Here you go. Now you're going to waste 4.5 hours of your time waiting around, waiting for random picks to happen. Everyone hyped it up like, oh, we're going to have all these blockbuster trades and all these crazy things are going to happen. And it was like the most 5, maybe 6 trades total in the first round. And it was all picks. It was all picks.
Yeah. I mean, they did announce the Noah Dobson trade in it. We knew about that. It wasn't a big deal. Right?
Yeah.
That was a blockbuster trade that was done before the draft. So it wasn't
exciting. It's also fun too when your team only has 1 pick in the first round and you wait 4 hours for them to trade it. That's so much fun.
Yeah, it's very on brand for the Hurricanes too. They do that all the time.
Sure, at least the Senators just moved back 2 picks, and
at least you stayed in the first round. We're like, we don't need our first round pick. We'll go get 2 seconds. You're like, you could have made this trade 3 hours ago, guys. Thanks, appreciate it.
For sure. All right, well, let's get into the actual picks. And I mean, there was some surprises. Not at the top. I mean, Schaefer going first overall, like everyone predicted. Schaefer first, Michael Misa second, and Anton Frondell going to the Blackhawks at 3. That's when it kind of maybe changed a bit. I mean, Caleb Desnoyers going at 4th overall to the Utah Mammoth. He was projected to be a 5th, in the top 5, so not really a surprise there. You're looking at, it became, I think it started becoming a little different as time went on, as the draft went on. I say time because it did go on for a long time. But yeah, so I'll start with you, Dayton. What'd you think about how maybe some surprise picks that you saw in the first round? I mean, James Hagen's dropping to 7. I think maybe we're thinking that he was going to drop. What was your biggest surprise out of the first round?
Biggest surprise. I'm going to go with Jack Nesbitt. I think he was projected to be a late first, more likely a second round pick. I think there's just some questions about his overall game. Like, yeah, he's a big guy who played on a good Windsor Spitfires team, paired well with Liam Greentree, but 12th overall is very generous in my opinion. So I was super surprised to see him go that high. I think the other big surprising one was the first goalie taken, Pyotr Andreanov. Didn't see that one coming, but he was also the top ranked European goalie. So I find that less surprising than Nesbitt climbing to the top 12, almost the top 10. To me, that's crazy. I would never have guessed that in about 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Zach, what about you? I mean, you had to wait for the Hurricanes to trade the pick, but throughout the draft, what did you think about it? I mean, any surprises that you saw throughout?
Yeah, I think Dane pretty much nailed it on the head with those two, at least. I would say probably to the fact that maybe Victor Eklund went a little bit farther than we thought he was going to. And I even say Cullen Potter going all the way to 32. A lot of projections had him like somewhere in the middle teens, maybe to the early 20s. But the fact that he made it down all the way to 32 was kind of surprising. I even say Joshua Ravensbergen, going to 30. A lot of people had him around like Columbus, Nashville, in 22, 23 in that range. I think those two, like, they didn't fall completely out of the first round, but I think they fell a little bit farther back than what people thought they were kind of projected at. But yeah, I would say, Nesbitt at 12 and then Pyotr at 20 were definitely the ones that were kind of like, those were a little bit more surprising than, Eklund going to 16. I thought he'd be a little bit around that 12, 13 range, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the Flyers started the day with 3 first-round picks. They finished with only 2. I mean, they did trade one away. So, I mean, there's so many teams that have – and Pittsburgh Penguins, they ended up with, 3?
Mm-hmm.
3 first-round picks in the draft here. So I'll ask you, Dayton, what do you think about the picks, like, for, like, your favorite pick, favorite class, I guess, because we've got a bunch of teams that had multiple first-round picks. Who came out of this first-round winners here?
Actually, I do think that Pittsburgh made some really solid choices. Taking Kindle 11th overall maybe is a little bold, but I don't think it's bad. You swing for the fences on a kid like that, and he's a really smart player. He put up almost 100 points with the Calgary Hitmen. There's a lot of potential there to become a high scoring player. So yeah, they took a big swing on 11th overall, grabbing him. I don't hate it. I think it could bite them. I think there were some better players still left on the board. I don't hate it though. Bill Zonin at 22nd. That's right where I had him. That's a great pick. He's a hard-working winger. Really, really solid player with the Royan Noranda Huskies. And yeah, one of Peter's favorite. Wish he was on here to tell us all about Bill Zonin. And then William Horkoff had quickly become one of my favorites for a late first round pick. And I believe they traded up to grab him there. And that's a solid pick. He's a big kid, but he plays the game really well. Just a really solid group, getting, I think, the most value out of the picks that they had.
Zach, what about you for favorite picks in this draft? I mean, like I said, there's so many teams that had multiple firsts in the first. Yeah, I mean, and they got some really good players. Who do you feel came out of this the best?
I think a lot of people are going to look at, like, the Islanders, or, with the fact that they got all their guys. I think even Nashville, I think they did a pretty solid job with their picks as well. But I'm actually going to go a little bit off the board. I'm thinking Calgary. They did an awesome job with the fact you got Cole Rushing at 18, and then you were able to get the 32nd because of your trade that you had, and you had the last pick of the first round. And you go get Colin Potter, like I said earlier, who was a surprise drop, and the fact that you pick him as the last selection in the first round. I think the Flames were a sneaky team in round 1 to get 2 guys who I think could really be beneficial for them. So like I said, you could give it to Nashville, you could give it to the Islanders, of course. Dane said Pittsburgh would be very interesting. But I think for me, I think Calgary kind of came out on here as one of those sneaky good teams in round 1.
I agree. I think, Potter's a really skilled. I mean, he's undersized, but he's really skilled and really fast. Like Dayton, you named him the best skater in the draft. So going right at the end of the first round, that's a really good thing for the Flames. And then Cole Reshny, I mean, we talked about him a lot on Prospect Corner. He does have a lot of skill too, and probably was going to go around this time. So yeah, definitely a good pick. I really like the Chicago Blackhawks, what they did. Obviously, I mean, getting Anton Frondell 3rd overall, that's massive. You got 1-2 punch. And then you're adding Nestor Sil, who had a great season in the USHL. And then Mason West, a bit of a wild card. He does say he's committed to hockey, which I do believe him. He's probably going to. But he is split right now with between football and hockey. But, all of these guys are big. I mean, they're over what is Mason West is 6'5", or am I between the two? They're like 6'5", 6'6" guys, and they got Frondell's a pretty big guy too. So that's a lot of size and a lot of skill they're adding to the team. So that one I really like their class. I mean, I've liked their class actually the last 3 years maybe. But that's because they just have always these high picks. So they just end up with them. Dayton, because we cover the Senators, we have to ask you about the Senators pick. Logan Hensler going at 23rd overall. I know we were talking and your reaction wasn't the best. There were some guys left on the board, notably Lyndon Lankovic, who went to the Washington Capitals at 27. What did you think about the Senators going for another defenseman in the first round?
Yeah, I will admit that my first reaction was not positive. The Senators just took a first round pick and used it on a right shot defenseman who looks like a top pairing in Carter Yakimchuk. That was 7th overall last year. Then they signed Lassie Thompson to a 2-way deal, mind you, but that's also a former first round pick. They've got Maxence Gwinnett, who's looking like a potential NHLer. They've still got why am I blanking on his name? Artem Zub. I was going to say someone else. So I feel like their right shot defense is, it's solid. They got some options there. I don't know if they needed to use another first round pick on a big right shot defenseman like Logan Hensler. That being said, I don't hate the pick. It's not a bad pick. Logan Hensler does have second pairing potential. He is a pretty good skater. He's pretty mobile. He does have some offensive sides to his game, but he's also really solid defensively. And if he focuses in on that side, he could be an incredible shutdown defenseman. There's some high-end potential in him, and I ranked him right around where he ended up going. I think I put him 24th in my list. So to me, that is where you get someone like that. I wish it was someone like Lyndon Lankovic, who is one of my favorite prospects in this class. Cullen Potter would have been fantastic. I think the Senators needed goals more, and I like the upside of those guys better. Logan Hensler is not a bad pick, just not what I would have gone with.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I wrote his prospect profile. He's very impressive defenseman. He's got that 2-way upside. I mean, he's a great skater. He's good defensively. One thing he needs to work on getting shots through. I mean, he seems to get a lot of his shots blocked. And that's something you can work on to change angles and stuff like that to try to get your shot through, because he has a pretty good shot. So, I mean, you can get it through a bit more. You're just going to score more. I mean, that's a bit obvious, but yeah, I think it's a good pick. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if this is what the Senators really needed. I think they going for a forward maybe would have been better, but we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out later on. For me, the Canucks got the guy I wanted, Brayden Coots. Everyone knows watching Prospect Corner, how much I love this guy. He's like a Bo Horvat. I mean, he's been compared to Vincent Trocheck as well, who really great player too. So, I mean, the Canucks have got a great guy, leadership, character, can play in all situations. So I love that pick for the Canucks at 15. They could have gone Victor Eklund, who went right after at 16 to the Islanders. I thought they were going to go for him because, well, Swedish, and the Canucks love their Swedes, but they go for a Western Hockey League guy, and they've had some success in the WHL lately. Saraminio, they drafted last season or the season before. And they're looking at the WHL maybe a bit more lately, and they have Seattle Thunderbirds again. So, I mean, Braden Coots, a very great, very good pick for the Canucks. I love that. So, I'm happy for what the Canucks did in this draft, or in the first round at least. Now they just have to draft Cam Schmidt in the second round, and I'm golden. All right, Zach, I'll ask just to end here before our last question. Do you see anyone that you're really surprising that dropped? I mean, the obvious one is probably Victor Eklund. I mean, going from a guy that maybe was supposed to go in the top 10, going to 16. Is that the biggest surprise for a drop? Or you could even say a big riser in here as well.
I would say probably the big drop more than anything else, I think, is James Higgins, for the fact that he went to 7 in Boston. Because we all, following what you guys have been doing over the prospects, I'm still trying to get into the prospect game myself a little bit. But just from reading what Dayton and you and everyone else has done, it looked like James Higgins was supposed to go at least top 5, or even 1 at some points too. And the fact that he dropped all the way to 7 was a little bit surprising. So I think if you're talking biggest drop, I think Higgins is probably that guy who no one really thought was going to drop out of the top 5. And I think Dayton brought it up, Jack Nesbitt going to 12. I think that's kind of a big jump up for a guy who maybe should have been a little bit farther down in terms of that. So I think if you're talking biggest riser and biggest drop, I think those are the kind of the two guys that kind of was surprising, especially where in that first half of the round.
For sure. Dayton, you have any other thoughts on that? Are those your biggest risers, fallers, or?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Victor Eklund dropping to 16, I thought was quite surprising. I thought he was a top 10 pick personally, and the Islanders did really well to grab him at 16. Aitchison was also a good grab at 17. I thought he could have been a higher pick. Mason West, we did call as someone who could jump up into the first round. He wasn't generally projected to be that, but he's, 6'7" and playing forward. I think he's a center.
Yeah. 6'6" center. Yeah. He's a tall boy.
Someone is going to take a first round pick swing on him. Just like they did with Letourneau, wasn't it? Dean Letourneau with the Bruins. He was 6'5", and he was a first round pick. Should he have been? We'll have to wait and see. But he wasn't projected to be. And so that one I'm not super surprised with, but he is a big riser for me. Riker Lee jumping into the first round. I don't know if a lot of us had that projected, but some had some thoughts that he could be a late first, 26th overall, maybe a little higher than expected. But yeah, I think for the most part, it wasn't a super surprising draft. You had Pyotr Andrianov as the big surprise, and then most of the rest were projected to be first round picks. So it was a little easier to kind of see who was coming next, and on our live chat, I guess we could call pretty much, within one or two guys, that's who was coming next. So, yeah.
And I mean, we had plenty of time to do it too.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right. To finish off, top names that are still available for round 2. Dayton, I'll start with you. Who are you looking at going into this that's still available early on in the second round that hopefully will go much faster as I guess on Saturday.
That's the hope. So I got 5 names left on my first round rankings that weren't picked. Malcolm Spence, I put 17th overall. Somehow was not a first round pick. I don't know what's going on there. This almost gives me like Angelo Esposito vibes. Like he was projected to be a top prospect and then suddenly drops. Not drops, he plummets. So either something is going on that people aren't revealing, or it's just a weird coincidence that other people liked others better.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's going to be a name to really keep an eye on. And I would not be surprised if he is 33rd overall. Eric Nilsson, I thought maybe could be a sneaky Flames pick, but he was left off. I put him 28th. Jack Murtagh, I really like him. He's a little undersized. Really, really skilled player, good play driver. I had him 29th. William Moore is another guy, plays with the U.S. National Development Team with Murtagh. I like his potential. Again, I think he's a little on the smaller side from what I remember. And then Blake Fiddler, I had 31. He's a 6'4" right shot defenseman. I thought for sure someone was going to take him, and he was left off the board. So those are my top 5 that I was surprised were not taken, and I'm sure will be taken early tomorrow.
Well, this is perfect question for you, Zach, because the Hurricanes do have an early second round pick now with their final trade. So for the Hurricanes early on in the second round that weren't taken in the first, probably a reason why maybe the Hurricanes did move into the second, because they thought, well, this guy will still be here.
Yeah, and actually, funny enough, Eric Tulsky did come out with the quote saying that they feel like there's still guys that they really can get in the early second round, and that's why they kind of traded back, because like why go for 29 when we can go to 32 and picked up an extra draft pick on top of that. So the Hurricanes right now feel like they can still get their guy, and that could be, and Dane kind of talked about a few. I would say even Cameron Schmidt. He's been kind of someone that's been floated around to maybe the Hurricanes picking him. Jack Maytalk, like Dayton said, could be a possibility there. William Moore. I'm still sticking with my guy that I've been loving for the last few weeks. I've talked about him a lot, and I know people are probably sick of it. Cole McKinney's there too, and I feel like he might be the best fit for the Hurricanes because he's a PK specialist, face-off specialist, two-way guy. He's a right shot center. His numbers were absolutely stupid with the U.S. National Development Team for the U18s overall. Plus 18, over 60 points in 60 games. Even in the USHL was absolutely dynamite there as well. And even at the World Juniors, I think he had like 5 points in 7 games, and 3 of them were goals, and he was a +4. So I think if you're looking for a guy who fits a Hurricane system the best, I think that is where you look at McKinney. But yeah, there's so many guys that can go there that I'm kind of surprised made it out of the first round. You're like, and with the second pick of round 2, they have a plethora of guys that go be like, all right, who do we really want the most out of 8 or 9 guys that are still available that are, in my opinion, like Dayton said, all first round potential guys who are surprisingly dropped out. You're like, hey, we can still get them early second. Why not?
Yeah. And they did add another pick in 2027 as well. So I mean, like,
a 2027 fifth. Yeah. It's a little bit of a ways, but hey, I guess you can't go wrong with extra picks in the future, I guess. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, you trade a first, you get some more picks and more swings. I mean, get some more darts or some more darts at a board, and maybe you'll hit. So Hurricanes have been able to do that.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling they were going to do it. I'm like, watch them trade back in the second round because they love doing it, and they did the exact thing I knew they were going to do. It's like, here we go. Oh, here we go again.
Sure. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for coming on and talking the draft. It was a very long one, but it did end up ending at some point, and we did get some players to talk about, and maybe a bit of surprises. And make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We've got live coverage. We had live coverage throughout the first round. News pieces, and also the draft tracker is live. You can take a look at that of all the picks that were taken, and anything else that we've got going on for all the teams that have picked, and lots of articles going to be coming out in the morning as well. So check all that out, as well as our draft guide, which has been live for the last 2 months, 3 months. There's a lot of stuff in there, prospect profiles, and any of the picks. You can find out a lot more about them there. But until our next episode, which we will have Prospect Corner breaking down the entire draft on our next episode. But until then, we will see you next time.